Okay, so officially welcome everyone to this evening session. So we've all done our little check-in. Shall we have a little look at the lesson today? Maybe do that quickly. It's a very short little lesson. I'll guide you through a meditation, then we'll go into the text. There's actually only two paragraphs, so we might have a little look at the message of the crucifixion, which is the next one. So let's see how we go. Okay, so share my screen. All right, let's start off with a quote, actually, because it's a nice it's an Einstein quote. Can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so John, will you read the quote for us?
Yes, a human being is a part of the whole called by us universe, a part limited in time and space. He experiences himself, his thoughts and feeling, as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of his consciousness. This delusion is a kind of prison for us, restricting us to our personal desires and to affection for a few persons nearest to us. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature in its beauty.
So it could easily have been said by a spiritual teacher, but it was said by a scientist, which was interesting. As I was saying this afternoon, Einstein became much more philosophical towards the end of his life, and started writing things like this. This isn't really about science, it's about consciousness. And so he was on his own journey of exploration to find the truth. And he had this desire to find a grand unified theory in the world, in the universe, and he never did, because you can't find the grand unified theory of separation. So you're never going to find it. And it probably frustrated him. And then he started talking more about love and compassion and this, another presence called God. I don't believe God plays dice with the universe. Interesting. So that was in response to quantum mechanics, which he never really accepted. God doesn't play dice with the universe. Because the truth of the matter is, if you believe in this perfect love, pure formless awareness, there's no uncertainty here. So then what plays dice with the universe is the consciousness, this ego mind that is responsible for the optical delusion of consciousness in which we seem to live. We seem to be out of our minds. We've literally gone out of our minds into bodies, into an external world, and now we perceive something outside of us that's not there. That's the optical delusion of consciousness he's talking about. Saying our task is to free ourselves from this, so we don't believe it. We free ourselves from this little limited self, and we realize that we're actually all of it, which is the path back to oneness. So he's pointing us again back to, you notice the last few quotes, it's all pointing back to oneness, and it's all about the hero's journey. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion. Well, this is exactly what the hero's journey is doing. It's freeing ourselves from our little prison of the known world to journey into this unknown world of unity and oneness, and then bring our gift back to the known world to teach others. So any thoughts on that quote? Any questions?
Well, it's a lovely quote.
You're seeing that this could have been said by a mystic or spiritual master. So actually at the highest level, science and mysticism converge at a point of singularity that is true reality. It's pointing to the same place, which is the oneness, And that's what Einstein started to perceive, that there's this force, and I don't think he could ever quite reconcile it with his scientific training. Because science trains you how. It's about how all of this happened, not why. So it's actually asking and answering the wrong question. As Rupert Sheldrake said in his talk, I don't know if you listened to that banned TED talk, he said, oh, well, science gives you one free miracle. So, it all just popped into existence from nothing in this big bang. And then after that, they'll take it from there. From that point, they then start describing all these laws, but they cannot tell you why this happened. So there's a massive hole in the whole theory when you don't know why this happened. And that's what the Course answers in a way that I haven't seen any other teaching answer. Okay, so this is the why behind this whole universe. And if you answer the why, then the how becomes irrelevant largely. Okay, well, how the separation is played out, and let's explain it better, and let's create all kinds of equations and models. Once you understand why, then all of that just becomes superfluous, because actually you realize the why is not a valid reason. There's no valid reason for any of this. So it's far better approach just to focus on the Holy Spirit's reinterpretation of it all, which is to let it all go and take your mind back to oneness before the separation, before any of this was required or necessary, before we needed science and explanations of the universe, and all these models that scientists come up with and so on. Just go back to the simplicity, and then you wouldn't be a scientist anymore. You go into becoming a mystic and a spiritual master if you go there. So scientists willing to undo their ego identification with science can go there, but generally they don't. And Einstein was a kind of a halfway exception. I don't think he fully did it, but he was certainly getting there in his mind. Okay, so any thoughts on, did you try this exercise, by the way? You want to try the exercise?
No, I didn't.
Okay. So
which exercise?
in the email I sent and in the WhatsApp message. Make a list of a number of everyday routine activities that you perform frequently, and use anything that you consider uninteresting or boring or tedious or irritating or stressful, but not anything that you actively detest, and then just really focus in on letting them be a vehicle or heightened awareness. So just go into, well, it sounds like you didn't have a particularly good day in this today, Kim, but try this tomorrow. It's a good exercise just to bring more presence, more flow into your life, into these daily activities. Okay, and so let's have a look at the lesson, shall we? Here is another way of looking at the world. So, Kim, will you read that for us? First paragraph, please.
There is another way of looking at the world. Today's idea is an attempt to recognize that you can shift your perception of the world in both its outer and inner aspects. A full 5 minutes should be devoted to the morning and evening applications. In these practice periods, the idea should be repeated as often as you find comfortable, though unhurried applications are essential. Alternate between surveying your outer and inner perceptions, but without an abrupt sense of shifting.
Okay, so anything strike you there? Do you find it easy to do or not easy to do?
I did like this morning. It was easy to do, but maybe I wasn't fully in it. Well, that's the thing, is I don't know. I'm not. That's my perception, actually. Yeah. So it's, I mean, it's repeating. Look, for me, it was like repeating the sentence. There is another way of looking at the world, and actually, even today, I had to like I'd have to like look at what the lesson text was every time. I'd go back and do it.
You forgot.
Like, yeah. I mean, it does happen sometimes, but like I completely forgot. Almost. And yeah, oh yeah, okay, it's that. But
yeah, that can happen. Did you find you could shift
yesterday, or was it yesterday or one of the sessions this week? Maybe I listened to a recording where I think one of the teachers of the course was saying, "Hey, you can't remember what the actual that happens quite a bit."
Yes, yeah, it was Robert Holden. It was it's probably one of the simplest lessons. I rest in God. You know, four words. It was like, I can't. I rest. So it does happen. The ego kind of blocks it. It's interesting. It doesn't want you to remember. Because if you remember, then it's undoing. Did you find you were able to shift from the internal, the outer and the inner aspect, as he calls it?
Yeah.
So he's talking really, that's why I included the integral model in this course manual, talking about the intentional, the interior domain and the exterior domain. Saying, well, actually, these ideas apply to both domains. In truth, it's all mind. This is a projection of mind, your behavior and observed outcomes and whatever's in the external is a projection of mind. But because we see them as different, he's working with us where we are, saying, okay, well, just apply the idea to both indiscriminately, external and internal. And you can shift between the two quite easily. So how did you find that, John? Practicing it.
Yeah, no, I like it because it does open up my awareness. Actually, it's an expansive exercise.
Right. And by switching, he's trying to get you to acknowledge these two aspects of your reality, internal and external, and not just be, on the exterior. There's a lot of people's perceptions, their mind is really focused on this and not on the inner world. So they're saying, okay, well, observe your inner world then. What are the thoughts? What are the emotions? And that's equally applicable. The idea is equally applicable to both. How did you find it, Sue?
Well, I've only just seen it because I haven't had any internet connection all day.
Oh, okay.
So I've only just seen this, and I'm struggling with it a bit, actually.
Right.
So the internal is your thoughts and beliefs. The external is your behavior. How you react to things. Is that it?
Yeah. So anything internal, so thoughts, emotions, feelings, whatever's going on within, and you can't see that. You can't see it, feel it, touch it, taste it, measure it. It's your inner world. That's the individual interior, which is really what the course is directed to, because this is the quadrant where the change happens. He's saying, seek not to change the world, rather seek to change your mind about the world. So this is where it all happens. But he's working with the external world because he's saying, well, this is where you're at. You think there's an external world. You have thoughts and emotions about that. You have perceptions about that. So there's a dynamic going on between the interior and the exterior. And most people don't acknowledge that actually they're creating it. Your thoughts, your beliefs create this, right? They determine your behavior. They affect your perceptions. And then you perceive something as outside and you go, oh, well, okay, well, that's happening outside of me. And it's really happening. And so now I'm affected outside in. The outside world is affecting my internal world. And Jesus is trying to teach us that actually it's always the thought that comes first. It's the belief that comes first. Because your beliefs determine how you're going to perceive and behave in this external, individual exterior quadrant. But yeah, so it's the behavior, it's actions, it's your body, it's anything that can be observed, that can be measured. That's what we would call tangible in this world. Goes into the external world, into the exterior quadrant, behavioral quadrant. Performance outcomes, etc. So in your case, I think part of why you struggled with your higher purpose was you were looking for your purpose here, and it's not here, it's actually here. It's in the internal world. And then it gets extended out. He uses the word extension rather than projection. So the ego projects from its false thought system and then creates the external, so-called external reality based on the projection. And the Holy Spirit extends into this. And he uses the words to indicate that there's a different way of using your mind. You're still influencing the external, but miracles happen from an extension of love. So it's inside out. Yes, my mind is corrected, my mind is healed. I'm now extending that into my actions. My words, my actions are governed by that. So it's not outside in, it's inside out. My perceptions are coming from this change of mind, from my true mind, my higher self, Holy Spirit. The idea of oneness is directing all of this. And that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to turn us around from being outside in and making this much more real than this, flipping it around, saying, no, actually, this is absolutely primary. So let me focus on this and really be aware of what's going on here, change this, and then the external world will change. Your behavior will change, your words will change, your actions will change, and your results, observed performance outcomes, will change based on the change of mind.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, this diagram makes complete sense. And yet it's not common. It's not commonly accepted. The integral model is still considered, it's quite out there. It's in the spiritual domain. And yet it makes complete sense. The ego's version of this, the ego simply says at its extreme, well, there is no mind. The hardcore kind of scientific materialist paradigm really says this world is all there is. The external world is all there really is. So behavior and systems, what you can see, feel, touch, taste, and measure is what's real, and nothing else is real. So it completely denies the interior domains, which of course is ridiculous. But that's how it's trying to convince you that the body is real, that the external world is real, and it's keeping you as far away as possible from the mind. Because if you realize you're a mind, you can change your mind. If you don't realize you're a mind, then your mind can't be changed. You're just a puppet of the external world, a victim of the external world. And I'm continuously just being, my thoughts and emotions are being dictated by my body and my perceptions of the external world, which is where it wants to keep you. So it's a fundamental shift to turn it around and say, well, actually, this is primary and this is really very secondary. We've still got to deal with these external domains, but not to make them primary and causative. Jesus is saying these aren't causative. This is causative. The mind is causative. These are the effect. But if you confuse cause and effect, then how can you expect to see anything clearly? You've totally inverted cause and effect. And that's what we've done with the ego. So that's why it really doesn't know anything. It's very confused because it thinks this is causative. But actually the mind is causative. Beliefs are causative. What causes the external world is individuals and on a collective level, collective beliefs. And that is what's created the world that we see. That's what creates individual behavior. Individual behavior creates patterns of behavior, which we call systems. So that's your organizational structures and processes, the way, laws, rules, the way society operates, and so on. And that's all a projection of the internal world. So our world is just a mirror of our minds. And if we see it as such, then it's quite helpful. Okay, this is just mirroring my beliefs, whatever it is, whatever's showing up. War in Ukraine. Oh, well, that's mirroring my belief in conflict, mirroring my internal split. And if I get upset by it, then obviously I still have that internal conflict. If I can just let it go, then I'm denying this, and I'm saying, actually, I'm whole. There's no internal conflict. So therefore, I can't see it in the external world either. I just don't make it real. So it's quite a helpful model, and it's really saying really what Jesus is saying. It's just put into a 4-quadrant diagram with a model that makes it very, very explicit and clear. Because in the last few lessons, this is what he's been trying to teach us. There are these internal and external aspects of your perception. These are the interior and exterior domains. And this was based on Ken Wilber's study of pretty much every major spiritual teaching, religion, philosophy. He really, enormously widely read man. And he then took a couple of years just to formulate this and say, okay, I want to create a model that synthesizes all of this into something that's really, really straightforward, really simple, and that can be used as a framework for thinking about anything. So if you look at any problem in the world from an integral perspective, you get a different perspective on it. If you look at it from just the exterior perspective, which is what he calls flatland, then your perspective is very limited and very distorted. So for instance, the COVID thing, let's take that as an example. Okay, so look at how governments and our medical system have responded. They've responded really from this exterior domain. Okay, well, it's flatland. There's a virus. This is what's causing it. So therefore, we need to come up with vaccines to prevent it. And it's all happening on flatland. Oh wow! I think Ruth's joining us.
Oh.
That's interesting. She hasn't joined us for weeks. Oh, okay. She's in and out. Anyway, that was quick. So if you look at internal, external world, the way that we deal with these supposed problems is based on a mindset. It's based on a paradigm, and this paradigm of the scientific materialist paradigm, as Rupert Sheldrake calls it, is deeply entrenched in our society. It's actually the modern religion. Okay, this is causative. This is all there is, and so we create a world based on that thought system, and do some crazy things as a result. Just a lot of it really doesn't make sense if you see it from the integral perspective. Doesn't make sense at all. So this kind of thinking and diagrams like this, I mean, this is world changing. If people actually acknowledge this and then made decisions based on it, we would have a different world, and we'd have very different approaches to situations and global situations, the way our systems are set up and so on. So really what we're in the process of as humanity, I think, is a fundamental shift into this awareness, where we start to look at things integrally and holistically, and just make better decisions and create better patterns of behavior, better systems, because our minds are fundamentally changing, saying, no, this isn't actually how reality works. This model of the scientific materialist model is flawed. It's not actually a true model at all. It's only one side of the equation. So it needs to be changed. And that is precisely why they banned Rupert Sheldrake's TED Talk, because he's challenging the paradigm. And that paradigm is deeply entrenched. And he's saying, you guys, it's a dogma. This isn't science anymore. It's a dogmatic belief system. and you're not actually open to evidence that contradicts your belief system, well, that's no longer science. That's dogma and belief. You're in the domain of religion, then, religious belief. You believe irrespective. Scientists say, no, we're rational. We base our beliefs on evidence. But if you're discarding the evidence and you're not taking it into account in your paradigm, then it's not good science at all. Okay, so any questions on that?
Oh, sorry, that TED talk that was banned, was it TED that banned it? Or,
yeah.
I mean, they would have, but I guess they know that what the speaker's content is going to be, or I suppose not.
Well, presumably they had some idea, but then he actually speaks it out, and they're like, "Ooh, this is creating a few ructions." So we'll just ban it. I mean, it's still available on YouTube, but they've taken it off their channel.
Okay.
Yeah, the TED channel. Accused him of pseudoscience, and it's like, it's not pseudoscience at all. He's just challenging a paradigm. He's saying, well, actually, science isn't, it isn't really true science, because they're not following their own scientific method of observation, and then based on objective observation, going, okay, so what is the theory then? They're going, I mean, he used examples like, well, the speed of light changes. You probably didn't know that. The speed of light changed between 1924 and 1944. It slowed down by about 20 miles an hour. And then it went up again. And this was like measured all over the world. And so he asks the chief metrologist about this. And, oh, well, you've just actually discovered the most embarrassing fact of modern science. We try to keep it quiet because these are constants. In our conception, they're constants. But Rupert Sharma is saying, well, maybe no. And so he's, no, there must be measurement errors. So Rupert Sharma is saying, well, how do you know they're measurement errors? Like if these are consistent around the world, like how can you say they're errors? Maybe they're not. Maybe these things that you think are constants are not constants. Maybe they change. Oh, but that rocks the whole paradigm. So he's questioning all of this. And then, the scientific community doesn't like it. So they ban his talk. There was a scientific board of advisors, whoever they were, but I can guess who they were, because who funds organizations like TED and so on. And they banned it. They said, no, we don't, because they don't want that these ideas out there, because it challenges a paradigm which is based, and you can say, okay, well, it's just science, but the scientific materialist paradigm is what governs people's thinking largely, and so it makes them very controllable. If you believe that the external world is real and there's no internal world, you're going to be a victim of the world. You're going to be very, very susceptible to whatever the powers that be tell you to do. So, there's a political agenda behind all of this. It's not pure science. It's like, actually, this is about controlling the human mind, which then brings it into the spiritual domain, ego versus spirit. And really, it's just it becomes another egoic way, a belief system that's stopping you from realizing who you really are and going into this individual interior and really saying, well, who am I then? No, I'm just a body, dictated to you by the external world. That's what the scientific materialist paradigm is saying. And that's just false. So kind of rocks the whole boat. And then they, as the ego does, instead of saying, okay, well, we'll be open to that, they ban it. Oh, we just won't allow people to access that information, for fear that they should, get some crazy ideas that challenge the status quo. But that's what we have to do. 500 years ago, interestingly, the Illuminati, as they were called, they were challenging the status quo. They were formed as a group to challenge the control of the church. So this is this is a control system. It's not allowing free thought. It's basically keeping humanity in prison. So we are the enlightened ones, the Illuminati, and we will punt this new way of thinking critically and opening our minds to observation and science and etc. And it was certainly a step forward from just dogmatic belief in things that really made no sense, and the church was clearly a control system. But now, 500 years later, we've got another control system, and that's become the scientific materialist paradigm, because it's too restrictive. It's just focusing on the external world and moving us away from this individual interior, which is where actually everything is causes. That's the cause of the world we see. So, and it's time for another revolution, which we're in the middle of. This is the process of it. We're living through it, which is quite interesting to be part of it, I think.
Mm-hmm.
What else are you going to do with your life? I already saw that with COVID a couple of years ago when we had that lockdown. It's like, okay, well, this is the time. This is what you've been preparing for. This is what you've done all this mind training for, spiritual practice for. It's for this time, so that you can be a part of this great awakening of humanity, and that's quite exciting. So yeah, it's a good time to be alive. If you want transformation, this is the time. All right. So, any questions on today's lesson? Sue, are you getting that a bit more now?
Yeah.
Here's another way of looking. Because you look at the world from the internal, you change your mind first. Okay, well, if I'm really oneness, if in truth only oneness is true, now how, from that belief, how does it change my perspective of the world? Quite fundamentally, actually. I reinterpret everything from that perspective. So instead of being outside in, which fosters the belief in separation, and just confirms that you're a separate self, it's inside out. No, I change my mind first, then I change my perception, then guess what? My reality changes. Observed behaviors, performance outcomes, it all changes because I changed my mind, which is causative. And so all these exercises are designed to help us to do that. Okay, so shall we do a meditation?
Yeah.
On this, and then we'll go into the text. And I also wanted to cover, we'll do that afterwards, the David Hoffmeister's instrument for peace. There's a diagram and a process. So I realize we haven't actually done that. So I want to get that done. All right, so just put yourself on mute. And mute everyone. Okay, so just making yourself comfortable, sitting with your feet shoulder width apart, up your hands in your lap, keep your back straight, close your eyes. And start off by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. So breathing in, noticing how stomach rises and the chest rises. And the subtle flow of air in through the nostrils, clenching the sphincter muscle, lock the energy in. Draw the energy up your spine into your heart center. Put one hand on your heart, connecting with your heart space. And another sip of air and draw the energy all the way up into the crown of your head. Just pausing at the top of the inhale. And just scan your mind. So just noticing whatever's going on inside of you. Thoughts, emotions, feelings. Notice what your body's feeling, sensations. This is the domain of the interior, your inner world. So observe those thoughts. And then just repeat today's idea. Whatever the thought is, crosses your mind, say, there is another way of looking at this. Whatever it is, you can name it. Person, place, situation, event, circumstance, object, and so on. There is another way of looking at this, because there is another way of looking at the world. When you exhale, it's blowing it all out with the breeze of your breath to the nothingness that it really is. Pull the lower stomach into the spine, expel the last remaining air out, and I'll just rest here for a few moments. Peace and stillness, sinking inwards, and the mind quieting into the depths of its being. Breathe in again to the lower stomach. Notice how the stomach rises, the chest rises, clenching the sphincter muscle, sucking the energy in, drawing the energy up the spine into your heart center. Put one hand on your heart, connecting with your heart space. Draw it up into the crown of your head, just pausing at the top of the inhale. Again, scan your mind. Observe any thoughts, any emotions, whatever's going on there. Observe it. Remind yourself that there's another way of looking at whatever it is, because there's another way of looking at the world. And then let it go with the breeze of your breath. Exhale. Just imagine you blowing it out like a dark cloud out of your mouth. The nothingness that it really is. And just rest here in the gap between breaths for a few moments. Remind yourself there is another way of looking at everything, because there is another way of looking at the world. Now just breathing in and out through your nose. Observe the subtle sensations of the breath flowing into the nostrils and out of the nostrils. Notice the touch of the breath in the area just below your nose, between your nose and your upper lip. And just by focusing on your breath, bring your mind into the present moment, quickly into the present. Nowhere else to go, nothing else to do. Nothing else to think about, just breathe in and out. You can just set the breath in motion, let it happen to you, through you, and for you. No conscious stressing, straining, or striving. Just allow it all to happen. So just sinking inwards to the peace. It lies beyond the world. Your perception, change of your perception. Just part of changing your mind from a belief in flatland, the ego's world, to belief in the spirit, formless, timeless dimension, which we call God. Nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. Just breathe in and out through your nose, relax, be still, quieten your mind, surrender. So if any thoughts arise, just notice them. It's like clouds drifting by. Observe them and let them go with the breeze of your breath. Exhale. Let them drift away. And use today's idea. Say, there's another way of looking at all of this. Whatever the cloud in your mind is, whatever the thought and the emotion, it's all the same. They're all clouds. No substance. Just shifting, changing, insubstantial, ephemeral, misty clouds and vaporous illusions. Jesus uses those words at some point in the course, so that's what all egoic thought is, just misty clouds and vaporous illusions. Blow it all away with the breeze of your breath, and identify only with the pure blue sky of your formless awareness, your formless awareness. There's really nothing to think about. There's no subjects and objects. Sky is the sky, and you are that. There's nowhere where the sky begins and you end. You're all of it. So surrender into that knowledge, as it is indeed knowledge. You are all of it, the whole entirety of this infinite blue sky stretches to infinity and beyond. Let your mind go there. Let the light of your source naturally shine through. And you just bathe in its light and its radiance. Just sink into the stillness and the silence for a couple of minutes. Nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. Just breathe, relax, be still. Find yourself, there's another way of looking at the world. And that other way comes from the stillness and the silence. So enter into it fully now for the next 2 minutes of deep silence. Okay, so gently bringing your awareness back from this deep connected state just into an awareness of the body and the breath, the senses, and the world. And on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So 1, just breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises. And subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Pausing at the top of the inhale. Scan your mind again, notice any thoughts, any emotions, feelings, sensations. Mind yourself, these are all just cloud patterns, just drifting by. And so you release them, blow them away with the breeze of your breath to the nothingness they really are. Let them all go. And notice how the air flows out of your mouth, chest and the stomach suck back in. Notice the weight of your body pressing down into the chair on the count of 2, and your feet touching the ground. Notice what you're feeling with your hands touching. Maybe there's a subtle taste in your mouth. Notice that. Breathe in again. Notice any smell in your nose. And notice what you're hearing in the surrounding environment. Just noticing all these things from this very still, calm, surrendered state of mind. There's no judgment, no interpretation, then there's a lot of peace, a lot of stillness that naturally arises. And just go into that peace and stillness. Just anchor it in for the rest of the evening. On into your weekend. So it is said, so it is done. And on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. And just spend a couple of minutes practicing. Just noticing the room around you. Just casually glance around the room. Notice various objects, people, if there are people in the room. And try and remain uninvolved, detached, just observing. You remind yourself that there is another way of looking at this, whatever your eyes happen to rest on. You can name it. Because there is another way of looking at the world. Just do that a few times, repeat it to yourself very slowly and deliberately. There is another way of looking at everything. I see. There's another way of looking at the world. I see. Close your eyes. Apply this to your inner world again. Any thoughts arising. Remind yourself there's another way of looking at this, whatever the thought is about. Because there's another way of looking at the world. And then open your eyes. Say one more time. There is another way of looking at everything I see because there is another way of looking at the world. Feel the truth of that and carry that with you for the rest of the session and the evening. And just as we go, keep some awareness on your breath. to keep you in this nice, connected, deep state of awareness, even while we operate in the world. So this is being in the world, but not of the world. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the meditation. Let's move into some reading and discussion of the actually what I want to do first is let's just welcome Iona. Hi Iona, how are you? Nice to see you again.
Thank you.
Nice to see you again.
Thank you.
So I thought let's just have a look at this instrument for peace diagram. So I realized coming to the end of the course, I haven't actually done this. So it would be useful, I think, to do the instrument for peace. There we go. Let's bring it up. Okay, so can you see the screen?
Yep.
So this is actually from the Living Miracles community. This is David Hoffmeister's organization. He's the kind of founder, I suppose, of it. And they've come up with this, levels of mind. And actually, we talked about this. I think it was with Iona. Remember, I was saying I need to draw this. So here we have a schematic, which I should have remembered. So you've got the levels of mind, which we're working at, and it starts with the domain of perception. So yeah, perception, that's the outer level, what we perceive in the external world. So past or future action, situation, or event causing upset. So this exercise works on these different levels. Perception. So that's the outer world, and this is where most people stop, and they let their perceptions be governed by the external world. And okay, so something happened, so I'm upset because someone did or said something, I didn't like it. And it's their fault. That's the outer level of perception where we start. Then I feel, and so you can actually use this as a worksheet. You can fill this in. The PDF is fillable in. When I think about your answer below, so when I think about situation, let's say, we'll use a practical example: the war in the Ukraine. Okay, so we use that. And then I feel. So on B, you're talking about emotion. So that's one level below perception. It's okay. So what am I actually feeling in this instance? Okay, so I feel angry and afraid. Yeah. Example: specific upsetting emotions. Then level C takes you into thought. So below emotion is thought. So now we're getting into core beliefs. Because I think that, and then we have something is to blame, and or because I'm afraid that something will occur in the future. Okay, so classic one, because doesn't have to be a person. I think that Russia is to blame, and or because I'm afraid that, or I saw a YouTube video, well, why the West is to blame for the Ukraine. So this is what we do. We assign blame to someone, because someone's got to be guilty, haven't they? So if it's not Russia, then it's the West. We'll blame the West. And of course, none of the blame is not true, as we know. But what this exercise is asking us to do is to identify it and actually name it, and then work through it. Because I think that Russia is to blame, and or because I'm afraid that let's say, World War III will occur. Okay, this could lead to some major conflict, and World War III and my death could occur. Because actually, truth be told, most people are scared of death. So that's where it all comes down to. And then D, which is the level of these thoughts and feelings prove that I'm right that, and then we have a core belief in D, which is prove that I'm right that the world is a scary place and I can be threatened. Okay? So that's belief. And then what I want and expected, desired action, situation, or event. So the desire for something to be different than what it is now is keeping you from the peace of God. Okay, so it talks about desire, how it takes you away from who you really are. And then the question is, are you willing to offer this desire to the Holy Spirit now in order to realign with the only goal that will bring you what you truly want, to accept peace of mind now? So what I want and expect is for there to be no war in the world, okay? And I want to be safe. Right, situation. So there's an expectation which is actually being violated, right? So do you see how this is quite clever because it tracks it back to your expectation. What's actually my expectation? What's the belief? And you're going to the core because the miracle happens at this level. Okay, so let me change my expectation. So I'm desiring for there to be no war in the world, and I want to feel safe. But if I'm honest, when I look at this world, has there ever not been a war somewhere in the world in my entire life? And that's probably the answer is no. There's always some conflict going on somewhere, and that's pretty much been the case throughout human history. There's been I don't think there's ever been a period where there's no war ever on Earth. It's just never happened. I mean, times when certain countries have peace and then war breaks out again. So is it really realistic to expect that there should be no war in this world? Not really, actually, because it's never happened in human history. So why would I expect anything to be different now? So it's an unrealistic expectation. And so what you're looking for is for the world to fulfill an expectation that it's simply not set up to meet. The world is set up for conflict and war. So if you expect it to give you peace, you're going to be sadly mistaken, and you're going to be frustrated and angry all the time. So this is asking us just to look at this, question it, and say, no, actually, that's not a realistic expectation. The only place I can really expect peace is here. So don't look for peace in the world, look for peace within. And then you stop the futile trying to make the world meet your expectations, and it never does. And so the Instrument for Peace workshop, the Instrument for Peace worksheet, then just takes you through this. So you can use this as kind of level 1 of this, okay? And then you can go through this Instrument for Peace guide to guide you through this. So it's another way of letting go, another forgiveness process. So it says, maybe you want to read that, Iona? Just read that little bit in the box.
You go very close to the screen.
I'll expand it if you want me to.
Thank you.
Let's just see what we can do. Okay, it's that one that I want. Okay, so is that better?
Yeah, that's better. The mind at peace is healed. The mind at peace has wholeheartedly welcomed peace. In this world, lack of peace appears in many forms. For permanent healing to occur, lack of peace must be traced back to its singular cause in the mind. Use of this instrument for that tracing back can help a willing mind let go of what it thinks it knows, see the world differently, and experience a present state of peace and joy.
So there is another way of looking at the world.
Yeah.
Great exercise for expressing today's mind training lesson. So then it populates it for you. So you populate it on level 1 on the first page, and then it puts it into these sections. So let's go through it. So let's ask we'll ask someone else to read. So Sue, will you read up until C2? Just section 1.
Yeah. When I think about upsetting action, situation, or event, the war in the Ukraine, I feel angry and afraid because I think that Russia is to blame, because I'm afraid that World War III and my death will occur.
So when you actually lay it out there, you see that the train of thought. And it's actually not particularly rational, is it? You're looking and you're going, that's actually doesn't really stack up very much. But it's about bringing these beliefs into consciousness, into awareness. You can look at it. So then thinking about Kim, do you want to do number 2 for us?
Thinking about the war in the Ukraine, feeling angry and afraid, blaming Russia and or fearing World War III and my death, prove I am right that the world is a scary place and I can be threatened.
Okay. So when you see the sequence, if you have all these beliefs, then it proves a fundamental belief of the ego. Yeah, actually, I can be threatened. The world is a scary place. Fear is real. And my little self-image is very vulnerable, right? I'm actually a victim. I can be threatened is really saying I'm a victim of the world. So you're getting down to the core belief of the ego. And then read that little paragraph afterwards.
Okay. I do not like how I feel now, so I am ready to consider the possibility that the way I perceive this is not the way it really is. As part of the healing process, I'm willing to look beyond my perception of this upset, the meaning I have given it, and look within my mind.
Okay, so it's highlighting. Okay, so this is what's going on apparently in my mind. I need to lay it all out, and I put it in writing so that I can see. Okay, so this is what I'm doing to myself, and there is another way of looking at this, as the lesson says. Okay, so any questions so far? Makes sense?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So,
Sorry, John, I just go back to that paragraph.
yeah.
Just read. It says, I'm willing to look beyond my perception of this upset, the meaning I've given it, and look within my mind. Is that like when we did this meditation earlier, where looking in the mind, but say looking at the light or looking at it's like seeing blue sky or...
Yeah, looking into your mind to find that awareness that's beyond this world. And that the problem lies in your mind. The problem is a perceptual problem based on false belief. The problem is not really out there. The problem is not Russia. The problem is not the Ukraine. The problem is in my mind. It's my beliefs, and they're being mirrored by the external world. So I'm wanting to look beyond my normal perception of this, right? The perception that you've laid out here, right? I'm angry and afraid because of the war in Ukraine. I think Russia's to blame. I'm actually quite afraid that World War III will happen and we'll all die. I'm willing to look beyond the surface of that perception to the belief that's causing it.
Mhm.
Right? Prove that I'm right, because we want to be right, that the world is a scary place and I can be threatened, i.e., I am a victim of the world. And so the war in the Ukraine is used by the ego to confirm our belief that we are a victim of the world. Okay, well, so actually what's really going on here is this is all about my own belief. It's got nothing to do with Russia and the Ukraine, and that's just the setup. That's what's playing out on the screen of time and space. But actually the real thing is what am I thinking, what am I believing about it? And how am I using that to reinforce my my limited self concept, the ego? So that's what this exercise is about, highlighting. Okay, makes sense? Okay, so number 3. John, if you can read number 3 for us.
I want to learn that there is a way that I can, without guilt, see the part I play in thinking about the war in the Ukraine. Feeling angry and afraid, blaming Russia, and fearing World War III and my death could happen. I want to learn that there's a way that I can, without guilt, see the part I play in.
Thinking about it, because I'm thinking about this war. I'm feeling emotions. I'm feeling angry and afraid. I'm blaming Russia. Maybe I'm blaming other people. Maybe I'm blaming leaders, world leaders, for not doing what they should do. Why aren't they going to save the Ukraine? There's all kinds of blame going around, which is about guilt. Blame is a projection of guilt. And I'm fearing World War III and my death, actually, if I'm honest about it. I might not have verbalized it, but this exercise is about verbalizing. Okay, so what are you really fearing? So highlighting the beliefs, highlighting the falsity, which is how you look at it, and then bringing it into awareness, and then being willing to let it go, which is where we move to now. So I think we cycle back to Iona. Iona, will you read number 4?
Sorry, Jono, the beliefs, right? Is that what you prove? The belief is the world is a scary place and I can be threatened.
Exactly, yeah. Which is a belief in being a victim, which is the ego self-concept. It's really being the victim of the world. And that's, we've just been through a lesson. I'm not the victim of the world I see, because I invented it. You're not the victim of the world you see. But you have to recognize what you're doing by these thoughts and emotions, that you're perpetuating a belief system about yourself that's not true. And that's what's really going on. The war in the Ukraine has been used by the ego to perpetuate its false belief system and keep everyone in the prison of the optical delusion of consciousness. That actually there is an external world, that it is threatening, that they are a body, that they can be hurt, they can suffer, they can die. Because you look at other people suffering and dying, then what happens? It makes you fear your own suffering and death, doesn't it? That's what happens. So everyone's actually just playing out their own beliefs through their perception of that situation. If you don't believe you're a body and you don't believe you can really suffer and die, then there's really nothing upsetting about the war in the Ukraine. You're upset only because of your personal beliefs that are being triggered. Your ego is being triggered in the situation. That's what's upsetting you. So the miracle is, well, I can change my mind. I don't have to continue believing this. Okay.
I release my wanting to be right about my perception of all of this in thinking about the war in Ukraine, feeling angry and afraid, blaming Russia and or fearing World War III and my death, and proving that the world is a scary place and I can be threatened. I want instead to be happy. Through the ego, distorted thinking, seeing, I perceive the cause of my upset and its resolution as outside my mind. This projection seems very real. Its purpose is to distract my mind from looking inward.
Okay, this makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's
Well,
pointing us inward to the belief at the very core of this. You know, what's my own belief? That's because that's all that really matters. What do I believe about this? And how does that belief perpetuate my self-concept? Because that's what's really going on. And so you can see, you know, from a simple exercise like this, how you can take world events and you can just deconstruct them into, okay, well, actually, this is what's really going on. It's just more ego. The ego is just trying to convince me that that this belief I have that the world is a scary place and I am a victim of the world is true. And that's why wars in the Ukraine happen. That's why these things happen, because the ego is using them to set us up for believing this. And its only purpose is to distract my mind from looking inward, to convince me that the external world is real, that this flatland is real. External world is real, and this is causative. This causes me to be feared, to feel fearful, and to feel threatened and alone and afraid. The external world is actually the cause of my fear, and this just isn't true. But you need to look at it very clearly and then see, okay, these beliefs are false, and be willing to change your mind.
Yeah.
Okay, should we move on to number 5? I think it's John or Sue. I think Sue.
If the cause of my upset and its resolution were outside my mind, I would in fact be powerless to change my state of mind. My use of projection, seeing outside what I don't want to see within, is why I seem powerless. Why Russia and or fearing World War III and my death seems to be the cause of my upset.
Okay, this makes sense.
Yeah. This is
Because I
really
project it out and I say it's outside of me, so I have no power over this. It's outside of me. Russia's doing it to me. And so my fear is justified. But actually the truth is I can change my mind. Seeing outside what I don't want to see within, why I seem powerless and why. So I project these thoughts out. Now it seems to be Russia that's to blame. It seems to be World War III and my death that I'm fearing, and it's all outward projection. I've gone into the external world, haven't I? Made that real. And that's what the ego is always trying to get us to do.
This is helping me to understand the cause and effect principle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've projected. Projection is the mechanism of the mind to throw outside of itself. And this is literally what created the whole universe. But we keep doing this. We hurl outside of our minds what we don't want to see within. So now it's outside and someone else is to blame. So I'm not the guilty one. Someone else is the guilty one. I'm not going to be punished. God is going to punish someone else. And so I need to blame in order to accomplish that. And that's the basis of the ego's totally insane system of projection of guilt outwards, which happens in these kinds of situations, which you're highlighting here. Okay, so where are we? Number 6. So John, if you can read number 6 for us.
Thinking about the war in Ukraine, feeling angry and afraid, blaming Russia, and fearing World War III and my death, result from my belief that the world is a scary place and I can be threatened.
Yeah, so it's trying to show us the causation, right? These thoughts, these feelings, the blame, the fear are a result of a belief. So the belief is the cause, not Russia and the war are the cause. The belief is the cause.
Yes, it's cleverly switched that
It's a
around.
scary place, and I can be threatened, and then from that belief, I perceive the situation in this way. So it's the belief that comes first. The causation is in my mind. It's not outside of my mind. That's what this is trying to show us.
And it could equally be a belief about ourselves, couldn't it?
Well, this is a belief about yourself. The world is a scary place and I can be threatened. What are you thinking? You're thinking I'm a victim of the world. It's a belief about yourself. It's a self-concept. I am really a victim of the world. I'm quite helpless. I feel powerless. I'm innovated. And there's limitation there. There's lack. There's loneliness. I can suffer. I can die. That's the belief system about myself that then manifests in this Ukraine situation in all these thoughts and emotions. And I'm not aware of it unless I unpack it like this and realize that I'm just perpetuating a false belief about myself through all of this.
So what has he actually switched round here? It started by thinking about the war in Ukraine.
Yeah, so it's shown us that actually it's not about the war in the Ukraine on the level of perception. That's not the cause. The cause is your belief.
Yeah.
In this, right? The world is a scary place, and I can be threatened.
Oh yeah, okay. So he's taking it round.
I believe I'm a victim of the world. There's a self-concept there, and that's the real cause because my perception is coming from my belief.
Ah, yes, okay.
My perception is coming from my belief, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, okay, that's clever.
So it's switching it around, saying my perception is not coming from the war in the Ukraine and Russia. It's not outside in. It's inside out. My perception is coming because I believe already that the world is a scary place and I can be threatened and I'm a victim. And now I see that in the world. I interpret the situation based on that belief.
Oh, that's very clever.
Yeah. Which is the whole turnaround. That's what a miracle is. It's a turnaround from outside in to inside out.
Yeah. So if you don't have that belief in the first place, you wouldn't actually have that perception.
No, it's not a factor. You're like, well, I'm not fearing World War III, and I'm not angry and afraid, and I'm not blaming anyone. Just like whatever. I'm neutral about it. Observe all of this, and you recognize it for what it is. It's illusion. So why are you spending your time thinking and feeling about illusions when actually all it's designed to do is distract you from the truth of who you really are? Once you understand this program, how the ego works, like it's so simple. Or whatever's happening on the external world, just you recognize that it's a setup. The ego is trying to convince you that it's real, the world is real, and just don't take the bait. And of course, people will say, oh, but how can you be so uncaring? I really care about the people. No, if they're really honest, you care about yourself. You're scared you're going to die. That's the truth of the matter. You're not actually really concerned about them. You're scared that because they can die, you can die. And that's what you're really worried about. So it's your own self-concept. And you can dress it up however you like, but actually the truth of the matter is it's not anything you're not like feeling compassionate for them or it's not there's no expanded kind of unity state there. It's just fearing for your own safety and well-being, and that of the people you care about, your special family, because if we will have a world war, then it's going to be chaos and death and suffering. And so then number 7, let's read that. Whose turn is it? I think it's Kim. Kim, do you want to read number 7? Kim's still there. Kim's asleep. Kim? Or she's frozen, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
One way or another. She's not moving, so I'm suspecting she's frozen. Well, let's say, Kim! Okay. We thought your computer was frozen. Because it was absolutely static. I thought it's got to be frozen.
Sorry, I know. It started from when I woke up this morning. Sorry.
Okay. Will you read number 7 for us?
Okay. Can you scroll up? Okay. I'm only upset at someone or something when it mirrors back to my mind a belief which I have denied from awareness. When I blame fear something in the world, it is to avoid seeing the upset and resolution as they really are, a decision in my mind, and to instead maintain an image of self, other, the world, as I wish. The mind trick seems to displace guilt and fear, but actually maintains a feeling of upset. To blame or fear an image of self, other, the world requires that I believe that I'm limited to a body and the world of bodies, and denies my spirit abstract reality of my being. As a first step in letting go of all upset, I want to see in my mind what I thought was outside it. Being upset about the war in Ukraine is only another attempt to make Russia and all the future thought World War III and my death the cause of my guilt and fear. Upset seems valuable and justifiable when the war in the Ukraine runs counter to what I want. What I want and expect is for there to be no war in the world, and I want to feel safe. I still believe that the world is a scary place and I can be threatened. So I think I need for there to be no war in the world, and I want to be safe, feel safe, to be happy, complete, and at peace. Is this belief in lack and the resulting expectation more important to me than peace of mind? No.
So it's kind of just taking you through a process of inquiry and saying, well, is this is what's actually happening? And is this something I want to keep? As opposed to my peace of mind. So just unpacking it, and it's really well done. I like this. I like the sequence. I've read it before, but I'm going through it now in more depth than I've ever been, and actually doing it with an example, because then it becomes tangible and real. So there's a lot of people who probably do believe, exactly what I put down here. There's fear around the, World War III and their death. They're blaming Russia, and they're using it to simply perpetuate the ego's thought system, and they don't realize that the ego is doing that. So, Iona, to mention that word again, the ego has hijacked their mind. It uses the situation as a justification for the hijack. So, oh no, this is very scary. You really no, And this is what it's always trying to do, like wars, pandemics. It's got to make the drama like very serious in order to justify the hijack. Because if it's not so serious, then you might, be able to maintain your sanity a bit more. But it's got to create all this extreme stuff on the outside, so that it can justify it. No, oh no, but this is different. This is a war. No. You just don't understand. This is really serious. So that there's an excuse for you to believe in the story. And this is the beauty of the course. He's saying no excuses, no exceptions. The truth is true, and it's always true in every situation. There are no situations where this does not apply. And I've even heard like spiritual teachers like Eckhart Tolle will saying, well, 90% of things are kind of, actually not really as bad. And okay, well, if someone dies, then it's understandable to be upset. No, the truth is it's the same for everything. It's not 90%, it's 100%. It's either this or that. There's no exceptions. It doesn't matter how apparently traumatic the situation is. The same principle applies, or it doesn't apply at all. This is the truth.
I was just thinking about that and thinking it's really extraordinary that we can have this example of and use the phrase World War III. And the same principle applies that if somebody, for example, I don't know, stole my bike, and I believed that the world was a scary, threatening place. It's like there are no forms of difference in miracles. Every miracle is maximal. Then there's no difference in the form of fear and threat, is there?
There's no hierarchy of illusions, says Jesus. No hierarchy of illusions. Therefore, no order of difficulty in miracles.
No hierarchy of illusion.
So whether it's a war in the Ukraine and World War III, or someone stealing your bike, it's the same. It's the same thought system. It's just playing out in your mind. It's the same. It's exactly the same thought system of guilt, sin, fear, and attack, just playing out in that situation. And so the ego gets people because it might, okay, well, I can deal with someone stealing my bike. I'm good at that stuff. But a war in the Ukraine, World War, ooh, big scary. No. That's now we make an exception because this is apparently very scary. Or someone died that I know. I lost someone I love, my partner, husband, father, mother. Special relationship. Oh no, that's too much now. Now I revert back into the ego's thought system. And so if the stuff starts happening, like really crazy stuff in your life as a result of this work, know why it's happening. Because the ego is trying to pull you back into its thought system. And so it needs drama. And the more scary and the bigger the drama is, the more likely you are to believe its story.
Yes. Or the risk of not being criticized for not colluding with the ego mind of others. If I just imagine myself saying to a friend Sarah, who's very kind of banging on about this, saying, I feel neutral about it. What?
Yeah. How dare you? How can you feel neutral? You should be upset like I am.
Yeah, you should be really upset. Well, what planet are you on?
Yeah.
How dare you abnegate your responsibility to feel really threatened and scared like the rest of us?
Yeah. And so you see how the ego pulls you in to that group think, the mass psychosis of guilt and fear and sin and the projection that everyone just does, and they don't even know they're doing it. She's projecting her own beliefs onto that situation, interpreting them and say, oh no, it's the war in the Ukraine that's the problem. No, the problem is your belief. That's your problem. So you might want to send her this worksheet and say, well, have a go, have a look at this and see if this helps.
Have you sent this out, Jono?
Yeah, I did. The beginning of the course. It was in the welcome letter, and then I also sent it on WhatsApp. I just haven't been through it, and I thought, oh, actually, this is a bit of an oversight in the course. I need to go through it. So that's what we're doing tonight.
Great. I'll have a look for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it in the course manual, Jono?
It's not actually. No, it's because it's a separate document, and they've done it as it's like a fillable PDF. So like, I didn't want to mess with the
Yeah.
coding, or however that works.
It's on the email today, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, it's on the email today, and I also sent it out on WhatsApp as well.
Okay.
So it's if you check your email today, there's an attachment that's
Yeah.
there. It's quite helpful. So you can do an exercise and you can save it. You can do a save as save as on it. So the way you do that, just for those who are not that technically oriented, if you go print, see in the right hand corner there, print, and then it goes Microsoft
Yeah.
print to PDF, and then just print it to PDF once you've done it.
Good.
And then it'll save that, and then that's okay. Well, you've got that, whatever the issue was, you got it worked through. You can save it and you can bring it up again and go, okay, well, I've done it. Let me go through it. I'll save it once I've finished this, because it would be a shame to just go. I don't know why it's an error in the coding there, because it's not showing it properly unless you click on it. So, but anyway, okay. So where are we? Number 9. I think is it Iona? Iona, you read number 9.
Everything in the world works together for my good. What I think is the cause of my upset is not the cause at all. The choice to be upset is a choice not to see the cause. My belief in separation or lack as a present decision in my mind. It's an attempt to see the cause in the past or future and the present as its effect. That's number 9.
Yeah, makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The choice to be upset is a choice not to see the true cause of my upset, which is my belief in separation and lack. Oh, okay, well, let's go back to here. This is the truth of the matter. I want to believe in separation. That's the cause of my upset. All comes down to that, what do I want to believe? We wanted to believe in separation, and so we created an insane world based on separation. Do you want to continue believing in that? Well, you've got plenty of opportunity in this world, because these things keep happening with, amazing regularity. That should make you wonder, well, what actually created this world? The world's never been without wars, never been without poverty, death, suffering, disease, etc. So what created all of this, and why did it create it? Okay, well, this is just a setup. It's making me think that there's outside of me and the world's to blame, when actually it's my belief in separation that's the problem. And I can change that belief. I don't have to continue believing in it. But the ego is trying to say, no, you have to believe in separation. You have to buy into all of this and believe in the dream and be upset and fearful. And it takes resistance, as you say, not to go there, because everyone wants you to join in the mass psychosis of the ego.
Yeah.
And it takes awareness and vigilance to say, no, I'm not going down that road, because it's really not serving me at all. And it's not serving the world. It doesn't help the people in the Ukraine. In fact, the more people believe in this, the more likely the war is to continue, because the ego is going great. The war's working great. Everyone's using it to project their stuff into the world and project their guilt and their fear outwards, and not really and perpetuate their belief in that they're a victim. And so this is doing nicely. This is perpetuating my thought system. So I'll keep the war going for as long as possible.
It's interesting, because first of all, we had the pandemic that everybody was talking. Everybody was talking about it all the time. And now we seem to put that one to bed. So now we've got a war that everybody's talking about. So it's a perfect opportunity to kind of bring light to it, isn't it?
Because what you've got to start seeing is like, hang on, isn't this a bit of a pattern here?
Yeah.
Like, this stuff's happening all the time. Like, what's really going on here? Like, is this all like really real, or like, are we just living in some kind of construct where It's all made up, and we're being played. This is all we're being deluded. We're being confused. We're being this is all tricks, mind games. And this is what the spiritual path is teaching you. No, just don't take it on face value. Look deeper. Look at the real cause. The real cause is thought of separation, and you can always track it back to that. That's the real cause of my upset. Okay, well, I'm causing it myself. It's got nothing to do with Russia and Ukraine and anything outside of me. Those are just triggers for my belief to be confirmed and all of these upsetting thoughts and emotions to arise. But they're actually resident in my mind already. The trigger just releases them. Gives me a nice excuse to juice the ego some more. And, well, I'm done. I don't have to do this anymore. The clarity of this, if you really go through this, well, why would I want to continue doing this? It doesn't make any sense. So it's an attempt to see the cause in the past and the present as its effect. Not my mind as the cause. I'm upset because I chose to be upset. That's the truth of the matter. And I continue choosing to be upset. Well, why would you choose to be upset? That's just ridiculous. Why are you doing it to yourself? The real war is the war on yourself. This is the teaching. The real war is the thoughts of separation, the war on yourself. That gets projected out and now manifested as wars and conflict in the world. But the real war is on yourself. So are you willing to stop the war on yourself? Jesus says, like, when the war is over, when you decide it's going to be over. When you say, I'm done with the thoughts of separation, because the thought of separation is a war on myself. It's an attack on God, attack on my true self. And everything comes from that. All of the dysfunction we see projected out into the world comes from that. So, enough. You just got to say enough already.
Yeah.
Enough. So, number 10. I think we cycle back to who started. Is it Iona? You just read, so someone else. John? Sue?
What? I think Sue did the last one, did she?
No,
I'm not sure. Who did number 9? Iona did, didn't she?
Yeah.
I come after Iona.
Yeah. Let's keep the order. Let's keep the pecking order.
Yeah. So it's me. What I want right now, above all else, is peace.
Yay.
So I question the belief that the world is a scary place and I can be threatened. And I voluntarily let go of the desire for, could you bring that up, please, Jono? We've lost it.
It's E. Let's find E. It's this one. There to be no war in the world.
Voluntarily let go of the desire for there to be no war in the world, and I want to feel safe. In order to reconnect with my one goal, which is peace.
And you see how this is all bound up with expectation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We've talked about this, expectation, desire, quite a lot. And so now what I think is that this has to happen in order for me to be at peace. The world has to change in order for me to be at peace. There needs to be no war in the Ukraine. Then I'll be at peace. So the external world must change. Or there must be no COVID pandemic, and then I'll be at peace. And of course, it's all false, because there's always something, isn't there? There's always something to disturb my peace.
Yeah.
So I wonder if John Lennon got it right when he was singing, all we are saying is give peace a chance. I wonder if he was really singing from his own self. Probably was, actually. But, the world took it and said, yeah, Russia, China, America and Vietnam, make the problem somewhere else.
Yeah, and the peace is in give peace a chance in your own mind. That's really the core. How can we have
Yes.
world peace unless people are peaceful in their minds?
Maybe if he'd done that next bit of the line, it would have made a difference. People were listening to him.
Yeah. So the internal rather than the external, because we're also obsessed with the external world. Yes, we want
Yeah.
world peace, but can I
Yeah.
find peace in my own mind? It's the paradox of the angry pacifist.
Yes.
I'm sure there are many. No, I'm a pacifist, but I'm really upset with Russia because they're just not playing the pacifist game. So now I'm angry with them.
Yeah.
But then you're not a pacifist. You're actually just perpetuating the war psychosis in your own mind, and you don't even realize you're doing that. And so, like a simple process like this, I mean, this is life changing. If people actually got this and did it, it's just like, wow, I can just change my perspective of this. And you know what? If no one believed the ego's story, these things wouldn't happen. Just be like, there's no need for a war. Just drop it. I've actually done an experiment.
That last line, I voluntarily let go of the desire for peace in the world.
Yeah.
Was that how the line went? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
There to be no war in the world,
no.
and I want to feel safe. Okay. So in order for me to feel peaceful, there has to be no war in the world. Okay. Well, there's never been a time when there's not war in the world. So good luck with that one.
Yeah.
And I want to feel safe. I want to feel that my body's safe in order for me to have peace. Oh, okay. Well, if you set up those conditions, guess what? You're never going to be peaceful.
Yeah.
Because this world was designed by the ego to be unsafe. That's the whole point.
Yes.
It's a very unsafe, unstable place. It's designed to make you feel threatened and vulnerable and feel like the victim, because that's what the ego wants you to feel like.
Yeah.
So don't expect that the world is going to do anything other than what the ego has designed it for.
Yeah.
Eckhart Tolle says, if you expect the world to make you happy, you're going to be frustrated all the time, because it's not designed to make you happy. It's designed to challenge you. It's designed to trigger all of these egoic thoughts and emotions that convince you that you are the ego.
Mm-hmm.
When you understand the program, it's so simple. It's like, okay, well, just understand what it's doing, and then you don't have to buy into any of its rubbish. You can just transcend it all, above the battleground. Jesus says, raise your mind above the battleground, in order to reconnect with my one goal, which is peace. Makes sense?
Yeah.
So you stop looking for it outside of yourself and saying, this has to happen in order for me to be peaceful. And you go, no, it's a choice. I can choose to be peaceful right now. War in Russia, no war in Russia, pandemic, no pandemic, whatever's going on, I can make the choice right now to be peaceful and enter that state of peace. It doesn't require anything external to me. And that's the power. That's the miracle. So number 11, I think it's Kim.
Peace of mind is a present decision which I gratefully choose right now. Guilt and fear of consequences only seem possible because I was determined to hold on to a belief in past future cause. I let go of the meaning I gave to the past future and open my mind to the present, absolved and innocent.
It's got a nice feeling, that. Present decision right now. So right now, this is available. And let's have a look at our timeline diagram. Right now, on this timeline, right now I can choose peace. Okay, major drama, Ukraine war, this is what the timeline is filled with. But right now I can choose to take my mind into God, love, eternity, pure formless awareness. I can choose that experience right now. And then I remove my mind from attachment to the timeline. I raise it up into eternity, beyond time. Right? The present moment is the only place where there's no time. It's a portal into eternity. And it's where you find peace. So hence, it's saying, I choose it right now. Guilt and fear of consequences only seemed possible because I was determined to hold on to a belief in past and future cause. Okay, so I was determined to hold on to the belief in the timeline, in other words. Past, there really is a past, there really is a future, and those are those are causative on the timeline, and that puts me on the timeline from birth to death, and denies that the eternal pure formless awareness or love is real, which is all the ego is trying to do. Another perspective on it, this timeline idea. I let go of the meaning I gave to the past and the future. Right? Past, guilt, blame, that's the past energy. Future, fear, what's going to happen in future, World War III. And I let go of all of that and I open my mind to the present, which is absolved and innocent. Okay? There's no past, there's no future, there's just present peace right now. And I can experience that right now if I just drop these thoughts. Okay, so have we read number 11? Has anyone read number 11?
Yeah, I did.
You did, yeah.
Yeah.
So number 12, I think it's Iona again. Was it John?
Yes, John.
John.
I'm grateful for the realization that the cause of my upset, which I thought was in the world, was actually only an unquestioned belief and decision in my mind. I have decided anew for my peace of mind.
So there's a resolution, peace. The affirmation, I've decided for peace. I've recognized the folly of this belief system, and I've collapsed it. And then it says, do it as many times, many worksheets as necessary to experience present peace, if that is your desire. Now, what else are we going to be desiring? So there you can make notes, you can save the worksheet. So there's and then you've got it as a reference. If ever that fear comes up again, okay, we'll bring it up, go through it again.
That's brilliant.
It's
Yeah.
very good.
It's a good process, isn't it?
Mm.
So
It's good.
thank you to David and his co-miracle workers, because they produced this. Got nothing to do with me, but I think it's useful. It's another useful resource. So you have it, use it. You've also got the 10-step written process. So there's a couple of written processes you can use. Has anyone actually done the 10-step letting go written process? Probably not.
I have.
Have you? Okay.
Well, the one you did, your 10-step.
Yes, yeah. So there's a written worksheet where you can write it out. And
Yeah.
go through did you find it helpful?
Yeah, it's good.
So there's all these tools. It's just different ways of skinning the cat, really. Different ways of undoing the ego. And just use them. Use what works. Maybe you do it, like if you really got a deep issue, do this worksheet, then do the 10-step letting go process, and then meditate on it. And go through the process in meditation. And just every time you do it, you're cleaning your mind.
Right.
Of this crazy belief in a false self and a world that's outside of you. That's what you're trying to clear away here. The world which seems to be, upsetting and threatening, and you just have to name. What I quite like about this is it's like the naming your game. It's like, okay, well, name the belief then. Let's name it. Put it out in the open, name it, and then they've done it nicely, and you don't have to keep writing it. Once you've done the various things, it just fills in the blanks. So then you can read it and go, oh, okay, well, actually, this is then what I must be believing. So it's just a process of mind training correction. So if you would like, Iona, I will save this. I'll just show you how to save it. So for those not so technical, if you click that button and then you choose, there's normally an option, but you can save as PDF or you can do Microsoft Print to PDF. So Microsoft Print to PDF will probably work. And then you go print, and it'll actually print it as it is. And then you choose the file. Choose where you want to do it. So use your file folder, and then you've got that saved.
Yep.
Let's do course content. So we call it.
Actually, I thought it was on today's email, but it isn't. It must be on the WhatsApp.
It's on WhatsApp. Yeah, I thought did I not send it out?
I can't.
Instrument for Peace.
It would be useful to have it on email, Jono.
Yeah.
I can't save WhatsApp.
I just found it on email.
Is it? There's an attachment.
Yeah.
Today's email. I thought I sent it.
Go on the course pack. There's loads of stuff in there. Yeah.
No. Okay. So.
But whereabouts is it, Iona? Because I can't see it. I mean, I thought I saw it earlier today. In fact, I read it.
Should be an attachment to the email.
Yeah. Somehow today my device has downloaded an instrument for peace and written exercise and an ACIM glossary of terms, which I didn't know I had.
Yeah, I sent that as well.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
But I'll send it out again. Instruments of peace diagram for war in the Ukraine. And if you'd like me to send this to you, I know, well, this completed one.
Yeah, please. I think that's really useful. I might try it with Sarah.
Maybe you can send it to your friend. Yeah. So
yeah, exactly.
See how that works for you.
If you could put it on an email, John, I'd find it easier as well.
Yeah, because I haven't got it either.
Oh, let's see. I thought I'd attached it.
I know. I'm sure. I mean, I've seen it today, but it must have been on WhatsApp.
Yeah, it was on WhatsApp, definitely, but not on the email. So that's fine. It was. I sent it out in the welcome pack way back, when we started the course. So it's you have it in an email, but I'll send it out again tomorrow. So you can you've got it. You can work with it, and
it'd be good to have the glossary of terms as well again.
Yeah. Okay. This has been updated a bit.
Yeah.
No problem. I'll send it out tomorrow. I might have even. We'll see. It's getting quite late. I don't know if I'll have a chance to put it in alphabetical order, but it's ideally what needs to happen at some point. How would you do that, John? Will you do that? Do me a favor. Could you put it in alphabetical order?
Yeah, I'll do that.
That'd be amazing. Thank you. Because it's just then helpful. Like, then you just go to R, whatever the letter is, and then you can see it. So it's a bit scattered at the moment. So yeah, I'll send it out tomorrow, just as a Word document. Okay. So that's.
Well, just send it to me then, because if I'm going to work on it, then you need to send it out again once I've done it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fine. I'll just send it to you afterwards. So that'd be amazing. Okay. So any questions on the instrument for peace diagram exercise? I think it's quite good. You can use it. You've got it. If there's anything that's troubling you, you can just write. I mean, it's actually really simple. There's just a few things you have to write, and then you just work through the process. So maybe at some point I'll do a meditation on this or something. Okay, so let's have any questions on that? Shall we just quickly move on to There's 2 paragraphs of the Lessons of Love introduction. It's just a short short section. I was thinking we might have time to go in the message of crucifixion, but I don't think so. So
like
we'll
what,
do
16
that.
paragraphs, Jono?
Yeah, I know. So we'll do that on Sunday. Tim's like, I'm fading here. So we'll do that on Sunday. Read it tomorrow, and then we'll read it on Sunday, because it's actually a very powerful section.
Mm.
If you can join us on Sunday, we'll do that as part of Sunday session. Okay, so the Lessons of Love introduction. Who would like to read paragraph 1?
Okay, I'll go. The relationship of anger to attack is obvious, but the relationship of anger to fear is not always so apparent. Anger always involves projection of separation, which must ultimately be accepted as one's own responsibility, rather than being blamed on others. Anger cannot occur unless you believe that you have been attacked, that your attack is justified in return, and that you are in no way responsible for it. Given that these 3 wholly irrational premises, the equally irrational conclusion that a brother is worthy of attack rather than of love must follow. What can be expected from insane premises except an insane conclusion? I'll read that again. What can be expected from insane premises except an insane conclusion? The way to undo an insane conclusion is to consider the sanity of the premises on which it rests. You cannot be attacked. Attack has no justification, and you are responsible for what you believe.
Okay, a bit to unpack there. So anything stand out for you?
The way to undo an insane conclusion is to consider the sanity of the premises on which it rests. I think it ties into this process that we just did and today's lesson. It's a perception.
Based on a belief.
Belief, yeah.
Based on a belief in separation. So anger is the idea of separation projected out, which is how the entire cosmos got created, miscreated. Idea of separation projected out creates this big bang of energy that's now, and now that seems to be our new reality. They're saying anger is always your responsibility, because it's your thought of separation projected outwards that's doing it to you. It's not the outside world. Okay, so anything else strike you there? So I'm responsible. That's a key thing. Like, I'm responsible for the separation because I desired the separation. So I'm responsible for it. So I can't blame anyone else. Because anger and blame go hand in hand, don't they? Guilt then projects the blame outwards, projects the guilt outwards, and then we attack others from our guilt. And then he's saying anger cannot occur unless you believe that you have been attacked, your attack is justified in return, and that you are no way responsible for it. So you believe that you're actually a victim of the world. You have been attacked by something that's really outside of you, and that you're not responsible for it. It's this other person or other thing's fault. It's done it to you. Hang on, who started it all off? You did, because you wanted to be separate. So then your anger got projected out in this insane thought system, and now you're facing the projection of your own anger attacking you. Apparently outside of you, but actually it's your own belief that's attacking you. So again, just pointing us within. I'm saying these are irrational. You have been attacked. Well, you haven't really been attacked. You attacked yourself. Your attack is justified in return. Well, if you attacked yourself, why are you attacking someone else, right? It's your own self that you're attacking, really, if you attack in return, and you are in no way responsible for it. So this is the ego, is I'm not responsible, someone else is to blame. But that denies the responsibility you have for the idea of separation in the first place. So that's the premises. He's saying, well, look at the premises, because the premises are false. If the premises are false, then the entire thought system must be false too, on which these premises, what follows from these premises must be false too.
So he hasn't explained fear here, though. He's explained attack and anger. But in the first sentence, he says, fear is not so easy to explain.
Relations of anger to fear is not always so apparent. Okay, so anger always involves projection, separation, one's own responsibility. Okay, so then the attack comes, but we fear attack, right? If you believe that you really have been attacked, attack is justified in return, then you're going to fear. Attack and fear go hand in hand. But yeah, he hasn't specifically said anything about fear. I agree. So maybe there was an oversight on Jesus' part, or maybe Helen didn't transcribe it properly. Who knows? But you can see the connection. It just hasn't been explicit.
Yeah.
If you believe these three premises, then you will fear. You will fear that you're going to be attacked. You will feel angry. You'll feel justified in your retaliation. And all of this is insane because the premises are insane. Because the ego doesn't want you to see the real cause. The real cause is your own decision to separate. That's the problem. It's not outside of you. No one did it to you. You decided to separate and then kicked all of this craziness off. And now your own attack is perceived as outside of you. And then you feel justified in counterattacking because someone's really attacking you, but none of that's true.
I think all this excessive attack and counterattack causes ultimate insanity.
Oh. Yeah, it is crazy.
It's too much pressure.
Oh. You get caught up in a thought system that is completely insane, and there's no peace there. You will never find peace if you believe in attack and counterattack, and so that's why we've created a world that's very unpeaceful, not peaceful, out of the thought system based on attack. Well, what else could come of it? Jesus says to someone, what else could come of it? The thought that's so impossible and unreal. What else could come of it but a total fantasy that really just doesn't work at all? And he says, what can be expected from insane premises except an insane conclusion? Well, logically, if you accept the premise is true, then the conclusion is going to be insane, which is how the ego continues to perpetuate its insanity in the world. Insane premise, separation, insane conclusion. Well, this is the insane conclusion of the ego, that you are a victim of the world, that you can be attacked, that accusation, blame, attack, all of this is real. That's the insane conclusion based on an insane premise of separation. And then he says, you cannot be attacked. So let's look at the premises. Like, you cannot be attacked because this is what you are. This is beyond attack.
Yeah.
Perfect oneness cannot be attacked. It cannot be threatened. Attack has no justification. If you cannot be attacked, attack has no justification. It's simply not true. It's not real. And you are responsible for what you believe. So am I going to believe in separation or am I going to believe in oneness? I'm responsible for that choice. Okay. So, Kim, can you give us a little summary of that?
Mm. Well, there's this relationship with anger and attack. Maybe with anger and fear, it's less obvious, but it comes from anger will come from you fearing attack or believing that that you have been attacked. So it's coming from a belief, and that perpetuates in that you want to or will attack in return. But it's not really rational. It's something that, I mean, it's not really rational. It's coming from the fact that we separated ourselves, and it's leading to this attack and being attacked and then counterattack, so to speak, bringing this insanity.
It all comes from the same premise, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Which is the thought of separation. Sorry, I interrupted you. Continue.
And so instead of believing that the attack is coming from external, you are responsible for what you believe. And yeah, I mean, again, for me, it comes back to then you can see the world differently based on that different belief. And that instrument of peace kind of helps to unravel this, or at least step by step show what's actually happening. It's coming from your belief, and you are responsible, and you can change that belief.
And that belief is always, if it's ego, it's belief in separation. That's the problem. That's the one problem, and that's the one solution is to let go of that belief, however it shows up. Okay, anything else? Any questions on that, or happy with that?
It's okay.
Okay, number 2. Anyone want to read that?
You have been asked to take me as your model for learning, since an extreme example is a particularly helpful learning device. Everyone teaches and teaches all the time. This is a responsibility you inevitably assume the moment you accept any premise at all. And no one can organize his life without some thought system. Once you have developed a thought system of any kind, you live by it and teach it. Your capacity for allegiance to a thought system may be misplaced, but it is still a form of faith and can be redirected.
Okay. Can you give us a little summary of that?
Well, he's saying that we've been asked to take it's actually his crucifixion, I guess, as a model for learning about attack and letting go of the belief in attack. He says everybody teaches because we teach teach our beliefs, I guess.
Yeah.
And this gives us a responsibility because we're putting out our beliefs to other people.
Yeah. So if you look at the integral model, it's inside outside. I have a belief, and I teach that belief in my behavior, my
Yeah.
words, my actions. That shows the belief of that you have, and everyone else has. You see people's beliefs by their behavior very clearly. So you're teaching that belief system. And the ego is trying to do the same thing as the Holy Spirit. It's trying to teach a belief system. So our responsibility is to teach correctly, to learn correctly, and to teach correctly.
Yeah.
And then you talk about the idea of a thought system, which is, I think the first time he's actually mentioned it in the text. So, because that's what this is. It's a thought system. The ego is a thought system, and the Holy Spirit is a thought system. This over here, this is a thought system. Right? So it's a way of, based on an idea of separation. It's a way now of thinking about yourself, about the world, about everything. A thought system. He's saying this thought system is based on a single premise that is false. One tiny mad idea that is false. So undo that idea, and the entire thought system collapses. So again, inside, outside. The interior, if you change your mind and you don't believe in separation anymore, then the thought system changes, and the behavior that is a product of the thought system must change. And so if we talk about systems, our world is a product of a thought system. And we have all these systems in place that are an expression or projection of that thought system, which is why it doesn't, if it's based on a false thought system, then it's not going to work very well. This is why there's all these misalignments. The world isn't working very well because it's a thought system that's shared, a culture, collective culture. So individuals share this thought system that is false, and then we create systems and individual behavior and patterns of behavior systems that are false. And we teach these systems. We teach the thought system by adhering to the systems. So, you know, what if you adhere to an egoic system, you're basically saying, yes, I agree with the ego, and I'm now teaching that this is true, that this thought system is true. And so your responsibility as the miracle worker is to say no, and I have to be in integrity. If I'm really believe in the spirit and only that, then I must teach by my behavior, by my words, my thoughts, my actions. And I cannot believe in systems that are based on a premise that is false. I can't believe that system. I must reject it and not give it any credence and any belief in my mind. And that's what he's asking us to do. Make a clear choice in every instance where we confronted with egoic systems and behavior, which we are all the time in this world. Make a clear choice and say, no, this is not true. So I don't believe it. I don't need to give it space in my mind. I don't need to honor it in any way, shape, or form. And he says, you know, don't honor the ego's belief system in any way, because you give it power if you do. And then he ends off by saying your capacity for allegiance to a thought system may be misplaced, but it is still a form of faith and can be redirected. So the ego has a faith. It's got a faith in its thought system. In fact, it believes obsessively about it. It's completely blind and irrational in its faith to its thought system. That form of faith can be redirected to another thought system, because the Holy Spirit is a thought system as well. This oneness, interpreting all of this madness, is a thought system. It gives you another way of looking at the world, another way of perceiving everything. So what he's training us to do is to think in this from oneness, another premise to think in different ways. He's training us in another thought system, which means we must undo the ego's thought system because the two contradict. You cannot have both in your mind and not feel incredibly conflicted.
But he did say that the ego thought system was as impeccable as the oneness.
The Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
Well, it's impeccable within itself, right? Once you accept the premise that separation is true, then the logic follows, doesn't it? Okay, well, if separation is true, then yes, I am an individual self. Then yes, guilt and sin are justified because I've destroyed oneness in order to be an individual self. That's true. Okay, fear is a cause of guilt and sin. I then project that out. I create a fearful, wrathful, vengeful God. I believe that I can be attacked. I now have to defend myself. I defend myself by projecting my guilt out. I blame others. I indulge in this accusation, blame, and attack because that makes me safe, I think. It means someone else is going to be punished and not me. It's all what he's meaning by impeccable. It's logical once you accept the premise of separation.
Yeah.
This is all that actually could happen. Based on an idea of separation, then this world is the logical consequence. And the victim identity is the logical self-concept that we have. But we can question it at its premise and say, what if that idea is not true? The entire idea on which this world is based is not true. That's what he's asking us to do. And there the ego fails. It cannot sustain against the Holy Spirit's reinterpretation and looking at that and saying, just separation isn't true, never happened. None of this is true. None of this is real. None of this is necessary. So I can let it all go. Whatever the effects are, if the thought of separation isn't true, then the effects must be equally untrue. And that reinterpretation, which is the Holy Spirit's reinterpretation of the entire thought system of the ego has no counter to. All it's going to try and do is obliterate that awareness and say, no, stick here, don't go here, don't look at this. Just pretend that actually something else outside of you is to blame, because that stops it from recognizing that the problem is in my own mind, in my own belief. And that's why we invented the world, to keep us spinning around in the effect and not really ever getting to the true cause. Kind of cunning and ingenious, really, but that's why it's been going for such a long time.
Right.
Is to unravel all of this and to really see it clearly, and then to live it when you get all these temptations from the outside world thrown at you all the time is the what do we have to learn? And we're in the process of learning it as we do these lessons and as we unpack the text. It's learning another thought system, which is actually very simple. I mean, you're getting the simplicity and the clarity of what Jesus is saying. It's actually a very, very simple idea and a very simple thought system. Just in some ways as the ego is. It seems to be very complex, but when you boil it down to the fundamental premise, it's not complicated at all. Okay, one idea, one tiny mad idea that's false, then leads to all these other ideas, and then we have to miscreate a world and believe we're a victim, because that's the logical consequence of separation. Okay, well, I see that clearly. Why don't I just change my mind? The separation isn't true. I never really did separate. I am one. I am that I am love. That's why the essence statement is so powerful, because in that statement, you just deny the thought of separation and the entire thought system that goes with it. Just undoes that entire thought system. You question it at its premise, at its foundation, which is why we did the Name Your Game, because it's a fundamental belief. I believe I'm a victim of the world, then guess what? I'm going to play out these games all the time. From the belief in victimhood, I'm going to interpret everything from that perspective, and I will continuously be disturbing my peace. If it's not the war in the Ukraine, it'll be something else, because that's the way I'm choosing to believe and perceive. And the only way out of this is to change your belief. And this exercise just helps you do that. It's actually really, really simple. It's not rocket science. It's really simple, but it's to do it in a world that is seemingly outside of you and that's continuously tempting you to believe in the ego's thought system. That's the vigilance and the mind training that's required. Yeah. So, any questions on any of it? This exercise, on this introduction. It's a nice introduction to the message of the crucifixion, which is the reading for tomorrow, and then join us on Sunday because we'll unpack the message of the crucifixion. It's actually one of the most important sections.
Yeah.
in the
19,
entire text.
19 paragraphs.
Yeah, so it's a long one. So
Yeah.
well, maybe we won't do it all on Sunday, because otherwise it's gonna. That's why I said I don't know. Like, I just know it's like. Yeah, we'll do the holotropic at 6, because that'll give us hopefully enough time. That's what's that, 5.5 hours to get through the text, and well, there's an exercise we're going to do as well, which is about an hour and a half that will take.
Okay.
So that, and then reading the message of the crucifixion, reading the workbook lesson, and then we'll go to the holotropic. I think I got it about right. But if we can do it any earlier, then we will. Yeah. So thank you, everyone. I think that brings us to the end of the session. There's no more questions, and I will see you on Sunday, hopefully. Kim, can you make it on Sunday?
I don't know yet, Jono. I'm not sure. Okay.
All right. Well, join us if you can, 2:30, and if you can't make 2:30, you just want to join the holotropic. It's going to be from 8 p.m. onwards. We'll do the holotropic. Okay.
8 p.m.
Yeah, because we start at 2:30, so that gives us 5.5 hours to cover what we need.
So you'll still start the holotropic at 8 p.m.
Yes. Yeah.
So we'll do 5.5 hours on the text.
Well, we need to do exercise 10, which is quite valuable.
Yeah.
So that's about an hour and a half, because
Mm.
I need to prep people for it and then get them into it. So half an hour each, and then that takes us to about 4 o'clock. And then if we're gonna do the workbook lesson and a meditation, and then do 19 parts of the text, that probably will take us to about then. We might be done a bit sooner, but we could always take a break. I'll say people just take a quick break and come back in half an hour or something. So yeah, well, watch out. I'm going to send out tomorrow. I'll send out the preparation work for the holotropic. So just a bit of information about it, and there's a track which you probably have already, Kim, because I would have sent it out before. So if you're going to do it, then play the track on yourself. So Iona, just I'll send you this music track, and then play it on a player, because the music gets distorted if it comes via Zoom. So if you just organize a player, you could put it on your phone and have headphones, as long as you can hear the music and hear my voice, because I'm guiding you through it.
Okay.
That should give you a good experience, and you just need to lie down on the floor somewhere, make a nice comfortable space, on a mat or blanket or something, and have a cushion and a blanket.
Okay, great.
And if Kenneth can sit with you, that'd be amazing, because then he can kind of hold the space for you.
Yeah, he said.
And he can probably pull in. I can imagine if we do a workshop, actually it'd be great for Kenneth to be there, and while everyone's doing the holotropic, and just pull the energy in. It'd be amazing.
Oh my God, it will be amazing.
Yeah, and that's the end of the workshop then. So people leave on this like absolute wow, this high. Well, then they unpack it and they draw a mandala. So that final thing will be draw the mandala. That's then a like blueprint, hopefully, for their higher self in visual form. Anyway, so thank you, everyone. Let's end it there. Shall we just do a 1 minute, 2 minute closing? So close your eyes. Take a nice deep breath in. And just breathe in this presence. We all experienced it. This amazing love, this energy, this field that we're in of transformation coming from Source. So just acknowledge it, give thanks. And that kind of sets it in your heart. That is to carry this energy with you for the rest of the evening and on into the weekend. Feel the love, feel the gratitude, and filling you up into every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body, every part of your mind. It's infused with love and gratitude. And now you extend it out as you exhale. Extend it out into the quantum fields, to people you know, friends, family, social network, and to everyone you don't know, the entire human race. You just bless them with the same love and gratitude, and as you give it, so you feel you receive it. You have it more when you give it. So feel that connection, anchor it into your heart, carry it with you into your sleep and into the weekend, and let it guide you in all your thoughts, words, and actions. When it's said, so it is done. And when you're ready, open your eyes. Continue on with your evening and your weekend. Thanks, everyone, and I'll see you Sunday. Namaste.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks.
Thank you,
Good
everybody.
night, everyone. Thanks. Bye.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.